Welcome into a brand new hour of CBS Sports HQ, brought to you by the Capital One Spark Cash Plus card. What could unlimited 2% cash back do for your business? What is in your wallet? I'm Jacqueline D'Agostino alongside Haley Sutton with you on a Thursday. What's in your wallet? Question mark. We've seen some big paydays come down, so a lot of cash and a lot of wallets for a lot of players in the NFL. And the latest big payday, Haley, is coming out of MIA.
Yeah, we saw Tyreek Hill a couple years ago become the highest paid wide receiver when he made that move from Kansas City to Miami. And now his teammate is saying, what's in your wallet? Let me hold $1, please. It was Amon-Ra St. Brown who reset the market earlier. He's still the highest paid player, but now we've got one of the highest paid Dolphins on the list with Jaylen Waddle coming in close behind. How you like this? Here's a look at the highest paid wide receivers so far. 3 years, $76 million guaranteed, all part of an $84.75 million total. And Waddle lives on in Miami. He checks in as the 4th highest paid wide receiver on this list, just a little bit behind his teammate Tyreek Hill. Of course, we saw A.J. Brown move into that highest paid spot at $32 million of this year. It has certainly been the year of the wide receiver. Can we maybe cue the music here? Because it sounds like somebody wants to make a deal. Several guys on this list. We've got our contestants.
Yeah, game show vibes.
Game show vibes. I know a few of the people on this list, Jacqueline, who are certainly in for some contracts. Obviously, we saw Jaylen Waddle get it, but come on down, CeeDee Lamb, the Cincy brothers, Justin Jefferson, and Brandon Aiyuk. All of these guys looking to make some serious cash in the upcoming season. I like this music. Let's bring in our quarterback, Danny Kanell, to discuss. Danny, 1,000-yard receiver in each of his 3 seasons in the NFL. Waddle's led the league in years past in yards per reception. He set some records along the way. He was maybe slowed down a little bit last year because of some of those injuries, but regardless, is Jaylen Waddle worth the bag here?
You know, Haley, everything is relative, right? I mean, is anybody worth this much money? I think he is for what he brings to this offense. The one constant that we've heard about anytime we've talked about this Miami Dolphins offense, this new iteration with Mike McDaniel as the head coach, has been speed. He wants a track team on the outside, and that's what Jaylen Waddle has given them as that option out there. But he absolutely has delivered. And when you look at the money, I think the good news for this is that it is starting to set up these slotted spaces of who's getting what, because that list you gave of guys up there that are still looking to get paid, they're waiting to find out what guys just beneath them get so that they can go above and beyond that. But as far as the money here, I think it makes sense. I mean, yesterday we saw Nico Collins get a big deal. This one blows that one out of the water, especially when you look at the guaranteed money that is given to Jaylen Waddle. So I think he's an important piece to this puzzle. And when you think about Tua Tagovailoa, he is a system quarterback that needs really good weapons around him. So you want to secure those weapons as long-term as you can, because Tua's young, Jaylen Waddle's young. They obviously go back to Alabama. Their ties there together. I think this is a good thing for the Dolphins to get this locked up before you have any contract demands or have to worry about franchise tags. I think this is a good move for the Dolphins, and clearly Jaylen Waddle is one happy wide receiver today.
Yeah, he's a little bit more reserved in terms of his personality, but we know his teammates are fired up. We've already seen reactions from Tyreek Hill, Jalen Ramsey. I think Javon Holland weighed in on the conversation too on social. They're definitely happy to keep him around. Now, DK, if we learned anything from this offseason, it's that the wide receivers run the money market, at least in the current NFL. It all started with Amon-Ra St. Brown in Detroit earlier this year as he became the highest paid receiver. And naturally, as you mentioned, other guys took notice. Lately, it's been the Bengals duo of T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, who are both looking for new deals. We saw Higgins say on the I Am Athlete podcast, quote, "I would definitely love to be here in Cincinnati, but if that's not the situation, that's not the situation." So obviously, both of these guys have not been at OTA so far, Danny, but is there any concern about not getting something done, specifically with T. Higgins?
Yes, I think that's probably the reality of what's going to unfold, because Jamar Chase is a better receiver and he does have a higher upside. He's younger and he's closer to being paid. And T. Higgins already with the franchise tag, already requesting to be traded because of it. I think the likelihood is that Jamar Chase gets the deal and T. Higgins does not. Every organization at sometimes has to make really uncomfortable choices when you have to choose with a salary cap who means more to your team, at what time do you pay them, and if you have to pay one of them, which one are you going to pay? Unfortunately, I think T. Higgins could be the guy on the outside looking in, with Jamar Chase being the one who gets that big new deal.
If we look at some of the moves that have been made so far, Danny, you mentioned Nico Collins. In terms of the productivity here, maybe we've seen a little bit more from Higgins. So how much of a blueprint, when we compare these two players here, how much of a blueprint does T. Higgins have? I guess a case is probably a better word here in terms of how he stacks up against Collins and what he just got paid.
Oh, unquestionably, these are the types of numbers that his agent is going to look at and take to the Bengals or take to any other team that possibly he would be looking to be traded to, saying, I have to get more than this receiver. I've produced more than him. I've been more consistent than him. I've been on a better team than he has. And then I guess the teams that would push back will say, well, Nico Collins hasn't had Jamar Chase aside from him. All of it is a negotiation that is put on the table. But I do think T. Higgins putting his numbers up against Nico at least that should be the bare minimum of what he should get, and he'll probably exceed that in the average annual value and the guaranteed money. I don't think by a lot, but I don't know if T. Higgins is exactly looking for a lot. I know every receiver feels like they're a one and there should be paid like a top 5 wide receiver, but I think T. Higgins is just looking for fair market value, and that's exactly, Haley, what you just did there by bringing up Nico Collins and putting his numbers next to T. Higgins. That's exactly what agents are going to put in front of every team and say, here's where my client deserves to be slotted. Here's what he should get paid. A little bit more than this guy, a little bit less than these that just broke the bank, like a Jaylen Waddle. So let's try to find somewhere in that zone that you should be paid.
Yeah, got to keep an eye on the money, especially with how it's been moving this offseason. Now, Danny, we've worked together for about 9 months now. You know I like a little tea with my NFL news, and the latest rumor is that the Vikings were willing to trade Justin Jefferson to move from number 11 to number 5 in the draft to get Malik Neighbors. This, of course, is coming from a columnist who writes for a local paper. He sort of sprinkled it at the end of his piece if you read the full article. But this, DK, this is obviously huge if true, and I can imagine Justin Jefferson seeing everything that's going on. Now, this Waddle news this morning, I can imagine he's wanting to have some conversations with that front office.
Oh, no doubt. No player likes to be the part of trade rumors, feeling you could be dispensable. But I remember having this discussion during the end of the regular season last year when Kirk Cousins' future was up in the air. It was like, could the Vikings tear everything down and start to move with a youth movement and get in there? You're seeing what the issues you have when players have to get paid and all of a sudden they're not happy. And that's exactly where Justin Jefferson is. If you could have swapped him out, got some trade value in return, gotten a younger receiver like Malik Neighbors, paired him with a young quarterback and said, okay, this is the nucleus of our team moving forward, I don't think it sounds that crazy to think that was something they could do, because we don't know what Justin Jefferson, what he's looking for. That number is astronomical. And do the Vikings want to pay that? I think any organization always likes to have a little bit more cap space. They like younger talent that is cheaper, that they feel maybe there's not that big of a drop off. So I think that might have been something that was a reality and not just a rumor, that they actually had those conversations. And Haley, to your point, it'll be interesting to see if Justin Jefferson's feelings are hurt, where he's like, I don't care what number you put on the table. I want to go somewhere else. If you guys don't want me, I don't want to be here. Because this can be a very emotional time when players are looking to get paid what they feel like they're worth. And if they're not happy, that's not a good place to be. Just look at Stephon Diggs and what unfolded with him in Buffalo.
Yeah, and he's in Houston, hopefully going to light things up with C.J. Stroud down there. That graphic is interesting. I'm curious to see where Justin Jefferson is going to fall in terms of the highest paid non-quarterback on that list. If we move over to my Cowboys, Danny, who have allegedly gone all in this offseason and somehow still haven't worked things out with the top players on the offense. We know Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb are on that list for extensions. But a little context here, as we know, the Cowboys do business a little slower than most, is the Jerry Jones way. So you kind of have some context there. But at this point, DK, the money is stacking up. So how do you prioritize deals in Dallas when you have so much to get done and the salaries are just climbing, it feels like, every other day?
Yeah, I think this is one of those waiting games where the Dallas Cowboys could get burned. But I also think the better receivers, which I would put CeeDee Lamb in that top tier category of guys that remained unsigned, they realize the last contract given is the highest. Like, that's just always how it works with quarterbacks, with receivers, with any position, because the longer you wait, the more the money goes up. You start slotting. And like we talked about earlier, you say, well, I want more than that guy. I want more than that guy. And you start breaking records. I think that's what you're going to see with these last 3 to 4 wide receivers. They are that good. CeeDee Lamb is young enough where I do think they're going to prioritize him even over Dak Prescott if they have to. Clearly, they would love to pay both of them, but I think you'll see him paid in this upper tier section of wide receivers more than Jaylen Waddle as far as the annual value, more than the guaranteed money. And I would say probably in the area of A.J. Brown, just above Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Jerry Jones, when asked about this before the draft, he said, quote, "We'd like to see more leaves fall. We'd like to see more action." One thing about Jerry, he keeps everyone on their toes, so sort of confirming what you just mentioned there. If we move ahead to the Cowboys' arch rival in the 49ers, we're talking Monday. Brandon Aiyuk definitely wants some of it, so much, Danny, that he wants to be the highest paid wide receiver in the game. Now, the 49ers did pick up his 5th-year option last spring, so he'll look to get paid $14.1 million, all guaranteed for the upcoming season. But clearly that's not enough. But my question to you is, has he done enough to sort of earn being the highest paid wide receiver? And how much of a drop-off do the 49ers experience if he's not on the roster?
I don't consider him a top 5 wide receiver. I think he's in, close. And I think clearly if you're looking at his salary and he's scheduled to make $14 million this year, you understand why he wants a significant pay raise. And then if any NFL player just wants, when it's their time and he feels like it's now, you just want to be paid somewhere for your fair market value. And you have to say that from a negotiating standpoint of, well, I think I'm one of the best wide receivers in the league. I just don't put him in that tier with Jamar Chase. I think CeeDee Lamb has had more success. And he has had a pretty offensive-friendly system where you're going to put up pretty good numbers and you've had pretty good talent around you. So, and I mean, just again, we did this before with Nico Collins and stacking his numbers up against T. Higgins. If you stack Brandon Ayuk's numbers against Amon-Ra St. Brown, they're not even close. So I think it'll be somewhere less than Amon-Ra St. Brown. But I do think the 49ers, they've been pretty consistent saying we're going to get a deal done. It's just about falling into place. And I think the closer we get to training camp, we could see a flurry of wide receiver deals starting to come in because the agents, that's the other thing we haven't really talked about, Haley. The agents don't want to look bad either. So they don't want to be the first one to go sign up for a deal and then make it look bad by receivers that aren't as good as your client signing for more money. So they're always kind of playing that waiting game too. But I think the closer we get to training camp, we'll see a flurry of these receivers looking for new deals start to fall in place.
I know, we're just always panicking so early. It's what we do in this industry. General Manager John Lynch did tell the Pat McAfee show earlier this month, quote, "I'm doing everything in my power to keep our roster together." So take that with what you will. DK, we certainly appreciate you doing everything in your power to keep us updated on all the latest moves in the NFL. If we take a look at the odds to win Offensive Player of the Year, you got Tyreek Hill topping the list at +700. Christian McCaffrey, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson all rounding out the top 5. You also got Amon-Ra St. Brown in the mix at 21 to 1.